Hello everyone and welcome to the first episode of my own personal series on the So We Just Watched channel.
The CONTROPOCOLYPSE.
This is where I will discuss controversial shows and films every few weeks, either from the past or very, very recently. Today we're going with very, very recently, as we're discussing the Netflix original show Big Mouth, which is rated 16+, which I think is weird for its own reasons. Now, of course, Big Mouth's new season came out not long ago, and I had already been watching the show in order to do, well, exactly this, actually. But now I had to kick my ass into gear and watch season 3 as well as 4. Let's go over the plot of each season really fast, just to kind of get an idea of what the show is about before I put forward my own actual, ideas. We'll go through this really fast. In season 1, we're introduced to the main characters and their hormone monsters. We have Nick, the short one with the big head and a moral compass that changes depending on how things affect him and his own needs. Jessie, the red-headed girl with a sense of social justice and a bit of an overbearing my way or the highway personality. And Andrew, the tall nerdy weirdo who has difficulty reading situations and is always thinking dick first. Essentially, this season begins with the trials of the first stage of puberty. We deal with Andrew questioning his sexuality when Nick kisses him, ultimately deciding it wasn't meant to be, and Jessie going through her first period and experiencing female sexuality. We also get introduced to Jay, a character who is seemingly injected into the show to show the contrast between him and Nick, at least that's what I get from it, to show the idea of nature versus nurture, whose whole thing in the first season is fucking pillows. A lot. Andrew experiences his first wet dream, and in another episode he and Missy see Nick's older sister reject a man who tries to head push her during a makeout session at a party. Jessie has her bar mitzvah, which obviously ends terribly, and Andrew becomes horribly addicted to pornography, ending in Nick having to save him from the porn realm or something.
It's called the Pornscape. It's a cool name. Please use it.
This is all just season 1. It gets a lot weirder. So much weirder. In season 2, Andrew goes through a growth spurt and worries about being a freak. Nick worries about his hormones being out of whack, and Jay and Jessie run away together before Jessie inevitably realizes how much she doesn't want to run away with him anymore. A new girl named Gina joins the school and she has a large chest and the boys fall head over heels for her while the other girls become insecure about their own bodies because of it. Nick wonders if he has a shot with Gina, and Andrew is caught masturbating in front of Nick's sister Leah's bikini, and the character representing shame comes to torture him. Coach Steve finally gets to lose his V card with Jay's mom. Nick and Andrew go on a double date, and Jessie gets herself in trouble shoplifting. Episode 5 is a whole thing about STDs and birth control, and 6 is about edibles and Andrew trying to break up with Lola. In the remainder of the season, the boys question what it really means to be men. The shame wizard casts his magic on the entire class at a school sleepover after Nick brags about making out with Gina. Jessie makes an active effort to change, and Nick tries to lighten the mood about the whole shame situation with a sleepover truth or dare game. In episode 10, we see Nick search for a new hormone monster, and Jessie starts becoming depressed, bonding with the so-called depression kitty. There was a Valentine's Day special between seasons 2 and 3, essentially going through the pressures of Valentine's Day on youth and the shame that comes with having no one to spend it with. In season 3, a dress code that only negatively impacts the girls at school gets fought against by the girls. Andrew realizes how extremist his views can be at times, and Missy struggles with her own inner anger and stands up for herself. Episode 2 shows the dreadful impact of addiction to mobile phones and the internet, ending in Nick's new phone being smashed by his mother because of the massive change in his behaviour since getting it. Missy and Jay bond over erotic fiction, and Maury the hormone monster encourages Matthew to speed things up a little with the boy he likes. Andrew becomes reacquainted with his cousin in Florida, and she's had a glow up and he becomes attracted to her while she encourages it, leading to a bigger rift in their family than there already was. Jay discovers his family has left him alone during summer break, and since the house is being fumigated, he moves in with Nick's family for a while. Connie gives Jessie a crash course in masturbation, Maury convinces Andrew to send his cousin a dick pic, and Nick lashes out at Jay out of jealousy and annoyance. Duke Ellington's ghost goes through his life to Jay, Andrew and Nick, who all listen very intently. The kids at school rank each other on lists, and a new girl named Allie comes in and talks to the class about being pansexual. Jay learns he has ADHD and is prescribed Adderall, and he sells it to his classmates to help them with their standardized assessments at school. A school play that is ridiculously sexualized encourages Missy to put herself out there and be hot, introducing her to a new hormone monstress. The Queer Eye people visit Coach Steve and glow him up to get him his job back. We find out that a teacher at school is manipulating Lola. The autistic boy in their class makes up a story about the fight between all the main characters, turning it into a superpower-filled episode. And finally, in season 4, which is the last season released, least, but not the last season in general, as they're already working on the next one. At camp, Jessie makes a friend in a trans girl who she had known formerly from camp, and Nick discovers his best friends are very alike and begins to feel anxiety over seemingly losing them to each other. Jessie has to make herself use a tampon for the first time, and because of his anxiety, Nick refuses to shower with the guys at camp, scared they'll make fun of his genitalia, but instead it results in them making fun of his smell. Missy gets a makeover from her cousins in Atlanta and learns from them that her black heritage has apparently been withheld from her, causing her to lash out at her white mother and black father. Andrew has difficulty with excreting because of his hate or something. Nick and him make up. One of the boys and the trans girl make out, but he hurts her feelings because he doesn't want to be seen with her, lest the guys make fun of him. Jessie moves to the city and struggles to adjust, and Andrew and Nick meet two girls who are a year younger than them and have a quote 8th grade make-out party with them, but wind up hurting their feelings. Jessie gets a boyfriend in the city and makes bad choices for him, and Andrew and Nick visit her on a 9/11 remembrance trip, ending in an argument because Jessie seems to be changing herself for a man. Nick imagines his future where he cuts himself off from other people and becomes rich, but ends up being the reason humanity doesn't survive, all because of his argument with Jessie. There's a whole episode about quote hand stuff, in which we see Jessie's boyfriend try to pressure her into giving him a hand job and breaking up with her when she doesn't. Andrew doesn't do a jack-off routine and thinks he killed his grandpa because of it, and Matthew has to confront his parents about him being gay. The friends go to a haunted house and have to face their deepest fears. But all ends well for everyone except Nick, who forces himself to push people away for his own protection. In the end, he manages to get his body back and embrace every part of himself, be grateful, and get his friends back, thanks to the help of Missy and Andrew. That's it. It's a mouthful, I know, but now's the part I actually had to use my brain cells for. For what it's worth, the show actually has some really clever humour in it from time to time, like Missy saying she can't say the N-word because her VA is white, or Nick looking off screen to ask, "Oh, this?"
No spoilers, Nick. What if I told you that everyone dies in the Red Wedding episode of Game of Thrones?
What? Really? I haven't seen it yet.
And now you don't need to.
Yeah, I don't even watch Game of Thrones. I don't watch anything on HBO. Is that good? Is that what you guys wanted me to say?
Combined with an obviously enormous amount of potty humour and cussing. The characters are a bit over the top from time to time, but generally speaking, a few of them are quite charming, like Connie the Hormone Monstrous, who I like for her personality and other reasons. And Caleb and Matthew are hilarious too, but characters like Maury and Rick and Coach Steve, they're funny from time to time, but I consider them generally unlikable and cringeworthy. But then you've got straight up unlikable characters like Devin, Jay, and Lola, who I struggle to have any empathy for whatsoever despite their issues throughout the show, as their character development is nearly non-existent and their portrayals are grating at best. The musical aspects range from god-awful to sort of catchy, but generally speaking, god-awful is the standard. However, we haven't actually gotten to the reason this show is actually controversial, have we? This show explicitly shows the vaginas, breasts, and penises of children in a middle school setting, as well as constantly having them discuss sex, having sex with each other, having sex with inanimate objects, wanting to have sex, incest, sending naked photos, discussing handjobs, and other intimate issues. While this would serve fairly well as a cartoon meant to educate middle school aged children on their bodies and that they're not alone in what they're experiencing, the fact that it is essentially a nude kid cartoon made for adults is absolutely creepy. As well as this, there is a constant large issue on Twitter and the likes regarding Lolita pornography in anime, wherein it shows an adult woman with childish features sexually. Whether that's okay or not morally means nothing to me, as that's not what we're discussing today, but either way, the characters are intended to be adults regardless of their features. However, the knowledge that these are supposed to be actual children doing rather adult things does pose a moral dilemma to me. The show is just not entertaining enough to make up for the fact that it is creepy as hell. Now, I wouldn't go as far as to say it is illegal because it does fall under some kind of education something or other blah blah blah, but that doesn't make it not creepy. The moral issues the kids go through and the stress and the anxiety and depression and shame, all of these are good themes. Even the mention of sexually charged conversation is something I would consider completely normal, as that's just something 12-year-olds talk about. The issue to me stems from how often they wedge in the actual showing of the cartoonish children's genitals and the blatant sexualization of young children, but hiding it behind being, quote, educational, when there's nothing educational about the show whatsoever. The forcing in of politics is also cringeworthy, but given the political climate of the last 5 years, I don't consider it unrealistic, so I give it a pass. There is, however, a lot of race baiting bring in race realism as well as wild generalizations against people who would have political differences with the show, and the male characters seem to be demonized a lot of the time for their sexual tendencies while the females are urged to celebrate theirs. I have no issue with the latter, more so with the former. However, in the grand scheme of things, every single character is gross in one way or another, which, to be fair, is about right to real life. Andrew's a filthy pervert, Jessie is an intolerant angry bitch the moment she's even remotely slighted, and Nick is just a little two-faced douchebag. I cannot in any way relate to any of the characters portrayed here other than the guy who told Matthew that being gay and mean is not a personality. He was cool. I liked him. I get what the show is doing, don't get me wrong, but I think they've gone about it in a way that just comes off unfunny, unlikable, and creepy. I'd sooner watch South Park, which seems like the least PC inspiration for this particular show anyway. Out of 10, I'd rate this at maybe a 3. I'll update on this show every time a new season comes out because I'm a sucker for punishment, I guess. But as it is, it just kind of sucks. If you want to feel uncomfortable every minute you watch a show about middle schoolers, I can definitely recommend Big Mouth, but if you're a sane human being who doesn't want to see the dicks and vages and boobs of cartoon children, then I highly discourage you from turning your attention to it. Trust me, it's not worth it. Thank you for watching. It's my first go at this format, so please be nice. I really hope you've enjoyed it, and I'll see you on this series in a few weeks. Till then, have a good one. Enjoy the hopefully upcoming content. Goodbye.
Everybody's